So, you know the saying, I feel your pain? Well, Seth Rollins, I may not have completely destroyed a knee trying to powerbomb Kane through a table, but I feel your pain. This is Are We Not Entertained, part of the Closing Tag Network. And yes, this episode, in case that intro didn't give it away, is 100% wrestling centric. So if you don't want to hear my thoughts about WWE or AEW or TNA or New Japan or any wrestling of any kind, cut the episode. You're good. I'll see you next time. Bye. Anyway, so I have two late breaking news items. Well, breaking ish. So, in case you've been living under a rock over the last 4 days ish, Seth Rollins is hurting bad. And no, this is not a work. This is not part of the storyline. This is not part of the whole, well, will his back actually hold up bullshit that Michael Cole and them have been, hyping up for months now. So kind of backtracking. So Monday, there was a championship match between the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins and, can we call him a challenger? Can we just call him a pretender? I'm going to just call him a pretender. Jinder Mahal. Yeah. All of you that are about to hit up my mentions in my email, Raul at theclosingtag.com, telling me to not hinder the Jinder, this is me officially hindering the Jinder. Fuck Jinder Mahal. It has nothing to do with his race. It has nothing to do with his national origin. It has nothing. By the way, he's from Canada, not India. Just saying. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has nothing to do with him as a person. I'm sure he's a nice guy, and I'm sure that he's wonderful to hang out with and go grab a bite to eat or some other shit. Maybe he's great as a tag team partner in 3 ways, if you catch my drift. But as a performer, as a main event level performer, he fucking sucks. There, I said it. So anyway, back to Seth Rollins, because that's who's really important right now. Seth Rollins was defending his championship against Jinder Mahal, and I guess tweaked his knee a little bit. Now, if you've been following Seth Rollins' career, at least going as far back as the Shield days, he's got some issues with his knees. So anytime that you see him grabbing his knee and, either in kayfabe or in real life, you have to fear the worst. Period. And especially now with WWE's roster being decimated at the worst possible time with knee injuries of all things. It used to be necks long time ago, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It used to be necks. Now it's ACLs. But after the match, he had to be assisted backstage. And there was supposed to be an evaluation done this week. Well, apparently Fightful and PW Insider have now confirmed the worst. After further evaluation, Seth Rollins has determined that he has a torn MCL and a partially torn meniscus. Now, I am no medical professional. I don't play one on TV or on podcast, nor am I going to hire someone to pretend to be one like some people, no names mentioned, Tucker Carlson. But I would suspect a torn MCL is going to take at least 5 months to recover from, which is not good. That is definitely going to knock him out for WrestleMania, which the rumor was going around that it was going to be Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against CM Punk in the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania, which was going to fulfill 2 Make-A-Wish wishes. One for Seth Rollins to main event WrestleMania, and the other for CM Punk to main event WrestleMania. And now that's completely gone. So, yeah, that sucks. Now, there's no word on what Triple H or anybody in WWE is going to do about the World Heavyweight Championship scenario. Obviously, Seth Rollins is probably going to have to vacate the championship. Now, what do they do? Do they hold a tournament? Kind of like how they did with the Universal Championship years ago when Finn Balor had to vacate it. Do they basically put it up for grabs in the Elimination Chamber next month? Or do they put it up for grabs in the Royal Rumble match? So instead of the Royal Rumble being for the shot at a main event match at WrestleMania, it can be for the World Heavyweight Championship, which would technically mean that you would be guaranteed a main event spot at WrestleMania anyway. Sorry, my cat's being curious. In not a good way. So, nobody knows what that's going to mean for the World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, this fucking sucks for Seth. And obviously, they were not going to just put the title on fucking Jinder Mahal. There is one other option that they could do. They could easily have Seth come out and say, you know what, everybody, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I'm just going to tough it out until the Royal Rumble. And then all of a sudden, a wild Damian Priest appears to cash in Money in the Bank, and he wins the championship. I mean, it's a cheap cop-out way to do things, but that's kind of what Money in the Bank is for. Cheap cop-out ways to win championships. But that's not the only wrestling-related news that's been going around. Again, in case you've been living under a rock, no pun intended, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is back. Or is he? There's conflicting reports going around about Mr. Johnson, Mr. Hollywood. And those conflicting reports are as follows. There's one camp that says that he is going to confront his cousin, Roman Reigns, the WWE champion, the tribal chief, at the Elimination Chamber. Now, what does it mean by confronting? That's left to interpretation. It could mean a match. It could mean they just mean mug each other for 5 minutes as the cameras shut off and as my phone goes off. I like that song. I am not ashamed to say that. That was just an email letting me know that someone logged into the Closing Tag website, which was me. So there you go. Got all sorts of crazy shit going on this podcast today. Let me tell you. Speaking of which, coffee time. Anyway, the second camp is that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to confront his cousin Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Now, this could mean a match. And if they're going to do a match, it's going to have to be the main event. There is no ifs, ands, or buts around about that. You have your top draw in Roman Reigns, your top star, and you have arguably the most popular human being alive right now. Like, if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson ran as an independent for president right now, he'd probably beat both Biden and Trump. That's how popular he is. The third camp is that they're just going to have a war of words. Nothing is going to come of it. And then they're going to set up a main event match for WrestleMania 41 next year. Because The Rock has been known to do that a few times. Plus, it could be a good way to set up that retirement match that we've been hearing about that The Rock wants. So, either way, and the reason why everybody's talking about The Rock and the reason why everybody's been talking about, is he going to have a match? Is he going to have a confrontation with Roman Reigns? He came out during the New Year's Day special of Monday Night Raw and beat the shit out of Jinder Mahal, which was nice, and got in the mic and said, "Guys, I'm a little hungry. Where should The Rock sit to eat? Should he sit at a booth? Should he sit at a bar? Or should he sit at the head of the table?" Which Roman Reigns calls himself the head of the table. So obviously you connect the dots. Even a 5-year-old can be like, oh, he's talking about Roman. So all of that's going on. TNA is back officially, and they have Nick Nemeth. And you're probably wondering, who the fuck is new Nick Nemeth? Well, if you remember the name Dolph Ziggler from WWE, that's Nick Nemeth. He's going by his real name now. So, which leads me to this other breaking news. Color me surprised when I woke up this morning to log into Facebook. Again, that's a mistake. I should never log into Facebook first thing in the morning. I should at least have 2 of these in me before I do that. But creature of habit. And imagine my surprise when I see an article from Fightful talking about how Kazuchika Okada has left New Japan Pro Wrestling. That happened. Now, there's been a lot of turnover and turmoil going on in New Japan. I don't know what the fuck's going on over there. You have guys like Will Ospreay leaving. You have guys like Tamatanga and Tangaloa teasing that they're going to join the bloodline, join their family members in WWE. You have guys like Jack Perry showing up out of nowhere and tearing up his AEW contract in the middle of a New Japan ring, which you had to know that that's planned, that was a thing that Tony Khan and the folks at New Japan worked out ahead of time. But hey, we'll play along. And on top of that, Hiroshi Tanahashi is now the president after the old president stepped down or was removed or whatever you want to believe. So there's been a lot of turmoil and turnover and changes going on in New Japan. I personally think they're getting ready for a sale. Now, does this mean that they're selling to WWE and Endeavor? Or does it mean that they're selling to the Khan family and AEW? Either one's possible. WWE is known and notorious for buying the competition. They're already, making inroads in Japan by sending William Regal's son, Charlie Dempsey, to work a match for All Japan Pro Wrestling. Completely different promotion, but that's okay. And Tony Khan is not exactly doing anything different. If you really think about it, he's the one that purchased Ring of Honor. He now owns both AEW and Ring of Honor. And he has a very close working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, as evidenced by their last 2 years of working together during Forbidden Door. So it's entirely possible that they're preparing for a sell. Who knows? But back to Okada. If you don't know who Kazuchika Okada is, educate yourself. The man is a machine. He is probably one of the 3 best wrestlers alive right now. I would probably say the 3 best currently in in all of wrestling are Bryan Danielson, Kazuchika Okada, and AJ Styles. Just in terms of the overall package. Roman Reigns is getting up there. MJF is getting up there, but they're not there yet. Kazuchika Okada has worked his entire career, with the exception of like a 6-month stint in TNA, in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's won multiple world championships. He's won multiple main event matches at the Tokyo Dome, their biggest venue in Japan. And he's even worked a couple of just excellent matches with Danielson, one at Forbidden Door in the States and the other in the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom. So Okada leaving New Japan feels to me like a death sentence for New Japan. That would be like if Roman Reigns left WWE to go to AEW. That would be like if MJF left AEW to go to WWE, which I know a lot of WWE fans were hoping for that. and are still trying to convince themselves and everybody else that MJF is working his injury and is actually going to show up at the Royal Rumble. Newsflash, he's not. So, Okada leaving is a very big deal. And I don't know if or how New Japan is going to recover from this. Financially, spiritually, any of the league. What does this mean for Okada? Well, as we've seen with Nick Nemeth and with Jack Perry and with all these different free agents and Will Ospreay, there's a lot of options. You could easily go to WWE if he's in it for the money and nothing else. Okada could make a killing working for Triple H and Nick Khan. If he were to go to AEW, he wouldn't make nearly as much money, but he'd still make a pretty decent amount. And plus, he's got a working relationship with Tony Khan and with Bryan Danielson and with Chris Jericho and with all those guys. He's familiar with all of them, and that might actually work against them, but it might work in their favor as well. And having a guy like Okada on that roster could be huge. Especially when you're trying to build up a guy like MJF. You're trying to build up guys like Wardlow and the Kingdom and all these other guys. So he could easily go to AEW. TNA wouldn't be able to offer him nearly as much money, but he has a working relationship with the brass at TNA. He has a working relationship with Scott D'Amore. He has a working relationship with the other brass that's there. And he's going to be there this weekend working some of their television tapings. So could this mean that he's showing his hand? That he's going to be heading to TNA soon? Who knows? There are other options too. There's MLW to consider. There's GCW to consider. The beautiful thing about wrestling in the year 2024 is that you're not limited to just the big companies anymore. A guy like Matt Cardona could easily just show up wherever the hell he wants and defend his internet or King of the Indies championship and, send the fans home happy or upset, depending on his mood swings. There's House of Glory. Okada could easily make his rounds around the independent scene for a few months before coming to a decision. And he may end up going back to New Japan. Who knows? But the key here is that the one guy that none of us ever expected to jump ship from New Japan Pro Wrestling to either WWE or AEW was Kazuchika Okada. And that day, it appears, has arrived. And now there is no telling what's going to happen to any of the guys on that roster. So, if you are interested or you want to discuss more about this, I am in a Facebook group that talks about professional wrestling called Cult of Kayfabe. Cult being spelled with a K, not a C. Yes, The acronym is COCK. And I'm 99.99999% convinced that the guy did it intentionally. But you know what? It's his group. He can do what he wants. So if you want to hop in there and discuss this further, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to have you. If you want to leave a review on Spotify, I'd be more than happy to have that. If you're watching this on Facebook, like, share, and comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. That way you are notified whenever there's a video that shows up, regardless of whether it's Are We Not Entertained or Sports Central or any of the others. I have been very busy these last few weeks. 2024 has been a pretty busy year so far. But I'm not complaining. It's great. It's great. As long as I, get my name out there and start racking up, likes and subscriptions and whatnot, I'm good. So, on that note, I do want to thank you guys for liking, for donating, for downloading, for watching, for listening, for doing everything you can for the podcast. Your efforts are not going unnoticed, so thank you. And I am going to go lay down because I am in a lot of pain right now. The joys of living in Utah in January. Remember to include your closing tags, guys. Thank you.